Kamaru Usman and Dricus Du Plessis are at a crossroads. For one man, this is the final championship run. For the other, it's proof that the embarrassment against Khamzat Chimaev was a lesson, not his ceiling. You know as well as I do, a loss will change everything here. Kamaru Usman is 38 years old. There will not be another championship run after this one. And Dricus Du Plessis can't afford the blueprint to beating him to become just wrestle, bro. A loss for Usman confirms the oldest truth in sports. Father Time is undefeated. Just as damaging, a loss for Dricus Du Plessis puts Usman, Chimaev, and Imavov ahead of him in the race for another title shot. As Dricus Du Plessis was staking his claim as one of the best fighters in the world, Kamaru Usman was losing his championship to Leon Edwards. But the tables have turned. Usman is in the middle of a career resurgence after beating Joaquin Buckley. Meanwhile, it's Dricus Du Plessis with everything to prove after his embarrassment against Khamzat Chimaev. And that's exactly what makes this fight so fascinating. Seriously, I can't underestimate just how low I thought of Kamaru Usman after his 2-3 losses in a row. Those Leon Edwards losses were horrible. The Khamzat fight I can get behind, and he took that on 2 weeks' notice, if you remember correctly. Regardless, I thought the Nigerian nightmare was done. And when they fed him to the chief Unk Destroyer, Joaquin Buckley, I was like, yep, that's a wrap. Unk Destroyer Joaquin Buckley is going to run through Usman. Instead, it was Usman that really kind of dominated the fight. Usman took control of the fight. He showed that he was, incredibly capable of still beating some of the top fighters today. That's what Joaquin Buckley was, a test for Kamaru Usman. Hey, how washed are you? And now that he's won that fight, the UFC is giving him a prime opportunity. You were once the best fighter in the world, is what they're telling him. You had what it takes. Let's see just how good you are in a new weight class. He's fought Khamzat at 185 before and looked really good at the third round of that fight. He was the blueprint. Him and Gilbert Burns was the blueprint on how to beat Khamzat Chimaev. Instead, we got a Dricus Du Plessis that couldn't follow that blueprint. So now we're at that crossroads. You got the aging well win of Kamaru Usman versus the poorly aged loss of Dricus Du Plessis. When you compare they're like opponents of Chimaev. It was really like night and day. Buckley, again, the killer. 12 minutes of control time in their fight. 12 minutes. I mean, 5-round fight, but Usman looked great. He looked like he could control Buckley. And granted, Buckley, he is a big 170, or that fight was at 170. He is a big fighter. Usman had no problem with it. Now, granted, let's be real, Dricus Du Plessis is a much bigger, much different fighter than what Joaquin Buckley is. Dricus will overcommit. He will overextend, but he'll make it so awkward and so weird. It's going to be on Kamaru Usman to grab a body lock, grab a leg, do what he needs to get the fight where he wants it, which is on the ground. He needs to dare Dricus Du Plessis, hey, show me something different. He needs to challenge the takedown defense of Dricus. And we're going to talk about Dricus' path in a minute here. But that's really what Usman has to do. Dricus Du Plessis showed that he's not, a guy that's going to be the best wrestler in the world. Even though we once upon a time thought he was, pretty good. The Chimaev loss showed a lot of he's not willing to do what he needs to do to get up. He has to change that. And the first game plan Usman's going to have to do is say, hey, you, go change it right now. That's what he got to do. And if Dricus doesn't, it's going to be an easy night for Kamaru Usman. If he does, Kamaru Usman will move to his plan B, which is going to be like, stalling against the fence. You think back to the horrible Masvidal fights. Stalling against the fence, straight punches really kind of catch Dricus overextending on his punches. Maybe get to a body lock there and just keep mat returning him, keep putting him on the ground. And Usman's great at that. Chimaev wasn't made to work against Dricus Du Plessis. Usman needs to say, hey, are you going to do the same? Strickland made him work, and he won. So, I'm looking like this fight here is to prove that Dricus Du Plessis, has improved, that he's learned from his mistakes, and we've seen him get better in the past. If you think back to the Sean Strickland fight, the first one was a lot closer than the second fight. Du Plessis made some good adjustments of making Sean Strickland lead that fight. And if you're fighting Sean Strickland, the trick is, hey, you've got to make him come forward. That's where Khamzat had his best moment. That's where Jared Cannonier had his best moment. It's you come to me, Sean Strickland. You're not going to counterfight me as you're pushing forward. You've got to lead. So it's weird. Sean Strickland pushes forward and pokes and pokes and pokes and looks for the counter. Dricus made him do that. I'm not saying Usman and Chimaev are the same fighter, but you know what I mean. The wrestling of Usman can be a good litmus test to see what DDP has done, has learned. It's he needs to avoid the fence. He needs to be able to get up. And, he just can't accept being taken down. Usman very clearly wrestles better than Dricus Du Plessis. The edge is clearly to him. And if Usman gets on top of him, it's over. Like, DDP can kiss his title hopes goodbye. Strickland reigns supreme for forever. That type of stuff, But he can't just rely on, turtling to get up and going to his back and giving his back, because that's where Usman does his best, especially against the fence. Usman will he'll go behind you and say, all right, you're giving me a back? Great, that sounds good. I'm going to go around. Oh, you're getting up now? Breaking up. The Khabib 101, But you go back just a few weeks ago, we saw this with Asu Amabayev and Charles Johnson. You remember that fight? Johnson kept giving his back up, and Almabayev was like, oh, I'm okay with this. I am okay with you wrestling and sweeping to get me up. No, it was when Charles Johnson had his sweeps that made him have more success. It got him caught too. Let's be honest. He got put his leg where he wasn't supposed to put it, but it's still. But we saw this a few weeks ago in Baku with that. Johnson has best success from sweeps from the butterfly. Dricus, I don't think he has the jiu-jitsu like that. So to avoid the wrestling situations, he's going to have to make sure to stay off the fence. He's going to have to hurt Kamaru Usman. We know his chin's not infinitely strong. We saw Leon knock him out, but he's still got a good chin. So he's going to have to find a way to gain some respect. I think it's going to be the low kicks. Famously bad knees. I screamed and yelled as loud as can be for both Masvidal and Colby Covington. Anybody that fought Kamaru Usman smashes his knees. Dude has to walk backwards to go up the stairs. Or down the stair. One of the two. His knees are that shot. And he said it publicly. And as mean as it is, guys, listen to me real quick. As mean as it is, this is professional fighting. And if you know he has bad knees, go for it. Just like saying, hey, I know Chase Hooper has sus takedowns. I'm okay to get in a clinch. We'll talk about Chase Hooper in a minute here too. But he can't play the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. If he wins, he'll still be behind Chimaev and Imavov. But he won't be behind Usman. Because if Usman wins, you can see Usman and Chimaev, and you can see Usman jumping Imavov, because Kamaru Usman has a win over Sean Strickland at 170. There's a story there. And the UFC loves a good storyline. So an interesting fight. It really is. It's an interesting fight. I lean Dricus in this fight just simply on size. I do think this is the fight where somebody finally starts to low kick him. I've been saying that for years, but I do think that this is the fight. In the co-main event, you've got Jared Cannonier and Christian Leroy Duncan. We're not going to go too much longer on these, but we're going to talk about some of the fun fights here. So Jared Cannonier, I've been super impressed with for a long time. He doesn't win all of his fights, but he shows something new in his fights every single time he fights. From the Israel Adesanya fight on, you see him in that Izzy fight kind of making a direct motion to say, oh, Adesanya is switching stances. I'm going to switch and make sure we're in the closed stance. So either orthodox versus orthodox or southpaw versus southpaw. I want to fight out of that stance and take away the open side attacks from Adesanya. And it didn't work, no, but it showed Jared Cannonier's, okayness with trying new things. Against Nasruddin Imavov, he moved his head a lot. He got into the pocket a lot, and he was cool to fight in the pocket there. The stoppage was sus against Imavov. So, we can give him a little leeway for that. Hand fighting against Cal Barallo. Now, Barallo beat the brakes off of him. But he showed that, hey, I'm not worried about a southpaw now. I don't have to switch with you every time, kind of like the Izzy fight. Instead, I'm just going to fight the lead hand. I liked it. Against RoboCop, he just showed how durable he was. He got battered in that first round, looked like it was almost time to go, and he comes back and wins. Now, granted, against like a Michael Venom Page, he didn't have any answers. But I'm not thinking here that Christian Leroy Duncan is Michael Venom Page. No, I'm thinking he's not Imavov or Baralho. I'm not even thinking he's Gregory Rodriguez. I think Christian Leroy Duncan, he has okay wins, but for Cannonier to stay relevant here, he's going to have to beat Christian Leroy Duncan pretty convincingly. I'd like to see, ground and pound from him. Let's get the takedown, get to ground and pound. And, Christian Leroy Duncan's a good fighter, and that's not going to be, it's easier said than done. And they're really kind of giving him an option here, to improve. But, his last win was kind of an embarrassment. Dolidze's a horrible fighter, and he's hard to fight properly. That was the one where Dolidze was running away and just like diving on takedowns. If you remember that horrible fight, guys, I wouldn't recommend going watching it. Go see if you can find some highlights, even though they're not really that. So yeah, I think Jarrett Kenner wins this fight. I think Christian Leroy Duncan's staying outside of the top 15. And I think Jarrett Cannonier lives to fight another day despite being 42 years old. Let's see. Chase Hooper is fighting Mitch Ramirez. It's kind of a layup for Chase Hooper if you want to know the truth. He needs a win bad, obviously. Chase Hooper is a very, very talented jiu-jitsu fighter. But he's lost to Lance Gibson, round 1 knee, and Alexander Hernandez, round 1 knockout. And he went on a really good run of beating Jim Miller, Clay Guida, and Borishev. But, you step him up in competition above that. And he also beat Jordan Leavitt and Nick Fiore. He lost to Steve Garcia, Steven Peterson, Alex Sakaris. Like, he struggles at times, and his striking's improved. But this fight kind of seems like a layup. Like, hey, here's you a win. Mitch Ramirez is not that good. 2 finishes, or being finished twice inside the UFC, kind of, tells me everything I need to know about him. Tabitha Ricci and Fatima Klein are fighting at 115. Ricci, she's coming off of that loss to Verna Jandiroba. Just kind of couldn't get things going there. Whereas Klein kind of seems like the person coming in and promising herself to be a good prospect. Now is beating Dukova, Melissa Martinez, and Angela Hill, which is her best. Her one loss comes from Jasmine Jasudavicius. And I'm a big Jasudavicius fan, so I'm excited that she got her win, but Fatima Klein's actually a really talented 9-1 prospect. The Sean O'Malley, Tom McMillan prodigy, or whatever they want to call him. This guy's fighting Alberto Montez. This is a kind of an IQ test for Montez. Like, hey, dude, just stay clean. You beat Tercios. If you can come in here and stay clean, because I was not impressed by Tommy McMillan's last fight. I don't think the kid's good. I think he's very sloppy and unpolished. 10-0. This is kind of an IQ test for Alberto Montez here. Jose Delgado's back. That's a fun guy. And he's fighting Austin Bashi. That's a very good fight here. Bashi hadn't really fought anybody good, but Delgado's fought Andre Fili and Nathaniel Wood. Somebody missed weight in that. Who did? Delgado was above the contracted weight. Haider Emil, he's beat. So I really liked Jose Delgado. Really promising fighter. Sakhyun Ko is fighting John Paul Lebowski, whoever this is. I don't remember this guy. Why don't I remember this guy? He was supposed to fight Vanderford. That's why. Okay, yeah, he beat Phil Rowe, but like everybody beats Phil Rowe. Felipe Franco is fighting Levi Rodriguez Jr. That should be a fun one. 2 Brazilian guys going at it. Let's see what else here. Adin Korea and Stuart Nicola. Okay, Alvin Hines is back after his steroid suspension to RJ Harris. Dion Barbosa and Anna Miliciano is fighting. And then Damian Anderson, jiu-jitsu master, a freak of nature, is coming into the UFC at 5-0 fighting Ezra Elliott. So that's your card for this Oklahoma City card. Not too bad on paper, there's some opportunity to be fun fights, but for the most part, it's kind of like, man, okay, I'll watch this. It's going to be a fun time. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, I'm going to be in San Antonio this weekend recording a video there. So you'll have a cool new site video coming out. But right here, Fight Finders, we had to cancel the Cam Teague episode. He got injured. So we're working on something new. We're talking with other fighters, some grapplers and all that. So hopefully we'll have something here soon. It's been too long. But anyways, guys, check out Fight Finders, my martial arts docu-series that you don't want to miss.